was probably 2 years ago that we spoke last. I don't think too many of the new viewers have even seen that episode right now, which is why I would begin this question with a tiny recap on the Garud Puran.
Sure.
But let's also talk about the journey of the soul at the point of death and after death,
Sure.
up till the point of rebirth.
Right.
I would let you take it forward.
Let me hear what you remember.
Of the Garud Puran? Since you spoke to me about it, I got very interested. So I did my own research as well.
Sure.
So some of it is based on what I have researched. Some of it is based on our last conversation. Please correct me where I'm wrong.
Sure.
The Garud Puran is basically a set of rules and descriptions about what happens at the point of death and after death. At the point of death, it's supposed to be so physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually painful in all the possible formats of pain that you can think of. The top of which is detachment and attachment, because you're still attached to your human life. I am Ranveer, I'm leaving Ranveer's body. The soul gets extracted from that body, and that's why it's painful.
Correct.
That's the worst pain a human spirit can ever endure, which is why naturally all biological creatures are afraid of death naturally, because we remember it from our past life.
Absolutely.
At that moment, it hurts so much, I don't want to go through it again. That's why that natural fear of death is inbuilt. But the Garud Puran also describes what happens to your soul after you pass away. I don't know now whether this is a part of the Garud Puran or not, but they say that you're usually visited by a form of God that you understand the best. Whatever your vision of God is. Which for many people would be their own gurus. Guru takes you to the next point. The next point can be positive or negative depending on your karmas. And if you've done a lot of negative things in this realm, you are made to pay for it in that journey. And that's where my morbid side actually got very interested. Because souls that have not done good deeds in our realm on earth are supposedly made to suffer extremely badly there, where you're supposed to flow in a river that's full of boiling oil. There are predators that eat away pieces of your soul's flesh. You're made to go through the same kind of suffering that you inflicted on this planet, so that you learn your lesson, so that you get punished. And then you're presented with your whole life's report card. That's where my understanding stops. And maybe this is a morbid explanation, so I'll allow you to correct me, sir.
Fascinating. I'm sure the youth who's watching this will think, hey, Ranveer to sadhu ban gaya.
Well, the energy rubs off.
It was a beautiful explanation. So to summarize, I'll give an example of when a criminal is caught by the police, and usually criminals are in disguise, and the police are kind of chasing, and they recognize and catch him. And when they take him for interrogation, and they inflict whatever they usually do, and then only after a certain degree of pain which is given, then the criminal says, okay, I am so and so. Otherwise, he'll begin by saying, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. The criminal denies his identity. And then finally, when he accepts, yes, this is my identity, then the process of reformation begins. And then he's sent to the prison house, and then transformation begins. So it's exactly the same. All the punishments which you described have been given. And in this planetary system, 14 planetary system, below are the various, below the Patal Loka are the various Narakas, or the hellish planets. And
You'll have
that's
to
described.
give tiny context on this 14 planetary system thing. I remembered from our episode, but just for the viewers.
So basically, the Srimad Bhagavatam, or the Bhagavad Puran, gives a complete different context of what's the geography of the space we are living in. So it describes the particular universe we are living in as having 14 planetary systems divided in terms of the consciousness. And there are the upper 7 planetary systems and the lower, and we are in the middle at the Bhuloka. And depending on the kind of piety you earn, you go up, and depending on the kind of sins you perform, you go down. And that's what is the whole idea of the karma factor.
Heaven and hell.
Heaven and so heaven is upper and lower planetary systems, and the last lower planetary system is called Patal Loka. Below Patal Loka are a group of hellish planets, which is known as Naraka. And each of those planets has a specific kind of punishment. And the person on behalf of Krishna who's managing that in the Bhagavad Puran is described as Yamaraja. And his name comes in various other texts also. And in India, anyone who's a practicing Hindu or born Hindu has always heard of Yamaraja.
You can feel free to describe each of the punishments.
No.
Okay.
So,
Just leaving that to you.
Yeah, the idea is that the nature of the punishments is so that a person has memory of that trauma when he again comes back to a better destination after going through that.
You mean whatever trauma he created in Bhulok, which is our world, he remembers what he did by.
He's made to remember by those, Yamadutas, and then punished. And then he is given a particular new opportunity after that, depending on his karmic balance.
When we're talking about these punishments, they're based on, I don't want to say negative karma, but whatever. Negative
Yeah,
karma.
yeah.
They are based on things you've done wrong.
Exactly.
How wrong is wrong enough to go to those planets? In terms of all of us have lied at some point in our life. All of us have hurt someone knowingly or unknowingly. All of us have been late. That's also a way
Right.
of hurting someone, disrespect. Will these things send you there? Or it's a certain crime like murder or robbery? Like,
It's a very beautiful question. That if you go into the technical details, you will be in trauma all day. Therefore, Krishna says the way to live life, just like as a citizen, when you walk out of the house, you don't think of all the sections in the Indian Penal Code which is going to land you in jail. When you start a business or a startup, you don't think all the different possible types of crimes which will put you behind bars under corporate laws. You are thinking positive. And all those are there as deterrents to prevent a person from doing those things. So therefore, there is a concept in Vedic literatures known as Pancha Yagya, which basically says that we commit various kinds of crime as soon as we are living in a space, because you're burning your fire, you're pouring water, storing water, you're cleaning the house, you are breathing. So all these things are creating by default millions and millions of deaths of bacteria and this and that, and any plant is getting killed when we are eating, when we are plucking and then finally eating. So therefore, ahastani sahastanam apadani chatushpadam phalguni tatra mahatam jivo jivasya jivanam. So Bhagavad Puran is very clear that jivo jivasya jivanam, one jiva will become the cause for destruction of another jiva. But let us follow the protocols of freedom within boundaries. So the important principle or the underlining statement is freedom within boundaries. Understand what is my quota and live within that. So the whole concept of Vedic literatures and Vedic living, as they say, is to help people understand that I can fulfill my needs while respecting others' requirements and needs and living within those boundaries of restraint. So therefore, people say restraint, restraint is not good. But say if someone is flying a kite, the rope of the kite, is it good or bad? Someone may say, it's bad, it is holding the kite back. But no, it is helping the kite move farther up. But you say, if you cut the rope, it can go much further. If you cut, after some time, the kite will come down. Just like runway is good or bad. Someone may say, runway is restricting the movement of an aircraft. The Boeing an Airbus can fly much, can go anywhere in the grass around. No, but the restriction of the runway helps the airplane gather speed. When the airplane gathers speed, it can fly to an altitude and take you to a destination you could never have usually done with a simple bicycle. Therefore, the restrictions described in all traditions are meant to help us focus and remain on the runway of dharma, so that ultimately we are able to elevate our consciousness to such an extent that at the moment of death, we actually go to a higher destination. And that's how all traditions have been working upon. So the main factor is, yes, anything you do in life, there will be something you'll be doing wrong, but the idea is not that. The idea is we become a law-abiding citizen of the universe and follow the universal father.
Okay. What's in those 7 heavenly planets?
Yeah.
And do you gradually progress up the ladder? Or if you've done enough good work in this realm, do you directly go to the top?
Yeah. So all those details are described in various Vedic literatures. And what kind of piety will lead you to what destination, that is also described. So, for example, there is Indra Loka, where Indra is ruling. And in Indra Loka, which is known as Swarga Loka, the people have bodies which are subtle, and practically there is long, long life, millions of years of lifespan, and no distress, only bhoga. Every moment is a festival for the senses. So Bhagavatam describes these heavenly denizens are praying Atishaya Indriya Utsavat. We are tormented by excessive pleasure of our senses. Therefore, because we have a body which is fragrant, the body is fragrant to such an extent when they would take bath in any kind of a river, that river would become fragrant. And there is nothing known as death till they leave that place. So they are praying in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that Kalpayashat Sthana Jayat Punarbhavat Kshanayushat Bharata Bhujayovaram. That rather than millions of lives, millions of years of a lifespan in heavenly planet, in Swarga, we prefer a few 80 to 100 years lifespan on Bharat Bhumi. Why? Because the kind of spiritual knowledge and